Hello everybody and welcome back to the Genshin Impact Genius Invocation TCG 4.6 patch notes. I'm Kojo Creations here at Kojo Cooks, and today we will be covering all of the characters released in this version, as well as all the action cards and balance changes. Be sure to leave a like and subscribe to help out the launch of this new Genius Invocation TCG guide channels, and so you stay updated on all things TCG. With that out of the way, on to our first character. Starting us off with Madame Faruzan, she has quite the strong skill for someone who is very burst-centric. The Wind Realm in Nanjinsin deals 3 animo damage on cast, and this character gains a Manifest Gale. Manifest Gale is a character status in which when the character uses a charge attack, you will spend 1 less unaligned element dice, and the physical damage dealt instead will be converted to animo damage and attaches Pressurized Collapse to the target character. In the end phase, Pressurized Collapse will force the targeted characters to switch and become the active character. Her Elemental Burst, the Wind Secret Waves, which I'm sure 90% of you will be playing Faruzan for, deals 1 animo damage on cast and summons the Dazzling Polyhedron. Dazzling Polyhedron in the end phase will deal 1 animo damage, and additionally, when the summon is on field, all opposing characters will take +1 animo damage. Faruzan can further enhance her animo supporting playstyle with her talent card, which is locked to her burst. When Dazzling Polyhedron is on the field and the action phase begins, you will create 1 animo dice. While Faruzan has a very linear playstyle intending mostly to play for her burst, her elemental skill and charge attack have the potential to disrupt setup decks where players will swap from one character to the next. Overall, I'm happy with the outcome of her kit, and putting my biases into the mix, animo is a very fun element, and Faruzan is one of my favorite characters. Moving on to the deputy leader of the Arataki gang, we have Kuki Shinobu, who's quite simple in kit. The elemental skill Sanctifying Ring summons a grass ring of sanctification. If this character has at least 6 HP, then she will deal 2 piercing damage to herself. While the once per round limit does seem a little unfortunate, you have to remember that this has 3 total usages off the gate, so Kuki Shinobu can simply skill and then be left alone. Her Elemental Burst, Gyoko Narukami Kamerayame Right, deals 4 electro damage and heals this character for 2 HP. The talent card to ward weakness triggers on her burst and further enhances her survivability. When Kuki Shinobu, who has this card equipped, is defeated, she will not be defeated but instead heal herself for 1 HP once per round. If Kuki Shinobu, who has this card equipped, does not have more than 5 HP, deal +1 damage. This is a very significant endgame closer, and just because it says once per round, we will see how it functions in game, but most likely, talents tend to be unequipped whenever you fall, so this will be a one-time use. Overall, I think Kuki can be used in a variety of decks thanks to how much her skill provides. I'm glad to see a swap damage mechanic that doesn't run to the Kirara problem, which only gives you 1 charge of the ability. Kuki will likely find a good spot in mid-range decks with her high immediate value off of skill and using other parts of her kit to stay alive. But Kuki isn't the only one who will aid in slower decks. Let's dive deep into the depths and check out Hydro Abyss Herald Wicked Torrents. First, let's take a look at the passive Watery Rebirth. When defeated, revive and heal for 4 HP. The normal attack is converted into Hydro damage, and they gain an all 1+1 Hydro damage bonus. The elemental skill Vortex Edge deals 2 Hydro damage on cast and then prepares Rippling Blades, which deal 1 Hydro damage. A delayed skill to push the more stall archetype that this character is going for. The real meat and potatoes of this character is the Elemental Burst Torrential Shock. Deals 3 Hydro damage and creates the Curse of the Undercurrent status on the opponent's field. This status causes opponent's skill and burst to cost 1 extra elemental dice, demolishing their dice economy, especially without ramp. The talent card Surging Undercurrent is a 1-cost equip card. If you have already triggered your first revive, then immediately create 1 Curse of the Undercurrent status on the opponent's field. Additionally, if you are defeated without your revive status, then also once again create another Curse of the Undercurrent status on the opponent's side of the field. A very useful talent card, and if you can pull it off, it'll ensure that your opponent gets the Undercurrent status at least twice. The status provided by Burst will be instrumental to stall decks by stopping enemy turns. Even outside of that, the revive providing a +1 damage bonus will jump the normal attack to 3 damage and a skill to a 3+2 damage. Quite powerful to close out the game. But this Abyss Herald better finish the game quick, because we have an anti-staller rolling up on these shores. Let's talk about the Emperor of Fire and Iron. Crab here is a spicy passive skill, Imperial Panoply. When combat begins, gain 5 initial Armored Crab Caprice stacks. After your side performs any action, if your side has any shield statuses or combat statuses other than the Armored Crab Caprice, these other effects will be cancelled. For each effect cancelled, this character gains 2 Armored Crab stacks. Not only will Crab be starting the battle with 5 shield, but they will also gain 2 more by stealing your other team's shield points. Mr. Krabs may be stealing your shield, but it's all for a purpose that they intend to pay in full with the following abilities. The elemental skill Bluster Blaze deals 1 pyro damage at base. If Crab has at least 7 stacks, deal +1 damage. Afterwards, gain 2 more stacks of the Crab. The Elemental Burst Battle Line Detonation prepares the Searing Blast skill. Searing Blast skill will deal 1 pyro damage and 2 piercing to all standby characters. This skill will deal +1 pyro damage for every 2 crab stacks. So, for example, if I have 8 crab stacks, I will deal a total of 5 damage. Considering that this card does not describe a limit on how many crab stacks you can have, it's only fair that this monstrosity of burst is a prepare skill. The talent card Molten Mail is a 1-cost equip card. When you play it, it'll apply Pyro to the crab after the crab's own shield status other than other crab stacks or other shields like Crystallized remove. You will immediately gain 2 stacks of the crab with a 1-round limit. This helps crabs stay in the game, passively regenerate their shields and status. Crab over here has such an interesting mechanic of not only stealing shield statuses from your teammates, but also converting that into damage. As the round progresses, the crab will likely gain a ton of shields and then drop some juicy damage as they're the last one standing. Moving on to action cards, we have a very interesting weapon, the Rightful Reward. It costs 2 white dice and has no base damage buff. Instead, it'll boost your elemental burst by +2 damage. After your active character takes damage or is healed, you'll gain 1 stack of Principles of Justice. When you have 3 stacks of Principle of Justice, the equipped character will gain 1 energy. An interesting polearm, and if you're able to pull off the healing, will give you a significant benefit, especially to characters who deal a ton of burst damage. I'm definitely eyeballing Raiden Shogun for this one. Jumping off the heels of a more specific weapon, we also have a very specific artifact, the Amethyst Crown. It costs 1 dice, and after an opponent takes dendro damage, when the character to this was attached to is the active character, gain 1 crowning crystal. If your crowning crystal count is equal or higher to the number of cards in your hand, create 1 elemental dice, and you can trigger this twice per round. This is our first artifact completely locked to an elemental type. And funnily enough, only 1 person in this element can actually use it, that being Alhaitham. Thanks to his ability with his charged attack, deal 2 bouts of dendro damage. While I think this artifact is going to need some work, overall Alhaitham is definitely going to appreciate this and could make it work to some degree. Now we're going to be moving on to the title of this video, all cards that deal with shuffle. Aroumaru is a 2-cost black card. When played, create 3 Aroumaru savings and distribute them evenly into your deck. Aroumaru savings are basically an omniwoven. After you have played 2 Aroumaru savings in your deck, discard this card and summon 1 Aroumaru Enraged. Aroumaru Enraged in the end phase will deal 2 physical damage and has 2 usages. Not only does Aroumaru create omniwovens in your deck, but also creates a summon after using 2, which will help you close out some games. Getting even more crazier with draw, the White Glove in the Fisherman is a 0-cost support card. In the end phase, create 1 Called for Cleanup and place it randomly among the top 5 cards of your deck. If this card has only 1 usage remaining, draw 1 card. Called for Cleanup is a 0-cost card. Your active character will deal +1 damage the next time they deal it, and this can also stack with a maximum of 2. Essentially, this support card will distribute +1 damage in the top 5 cards in your next draw. Being able to have damage boosters for free added to your deck, and they're stackable, is a very powerful ability which will help with aggro decks. But I got one more in me. Underwater Treasure Hunt is a 1-cost action card. When you use this, create 6 Undersea Treasure and place them into your deck at random. Undersea Treasure is a 0-cost card, and when you play it, it'll heal your active character for 1 HP and create 1 basic elemental dice. Having 6 copies of 1 healing and 1 dice is incredibly powerful and will help out combo decks significantly. But don't let all that healing and shuffling get to your head, as we have our first anti-stall card, Seirai Island. A 1-cost support card. After any character on either side is healed, that character will gain the status Distant Storm, and can only be used once, and it has a duration of 2 rounds. Distant Storm, in the end phase, will deal 2 piercing damage to the character to which this is attached to. Now, you do have to be careful with this, as either side is healed, it will also apply to yourself, so you are definitely going to be using this aggro or combo decks in which you want to end games early as possible. However, you might just survive your trip to Seirai Island if you go ahead and play something like Rainbow Macarons, a food card that costs 2 black. When played, heal the target character for 1 HP. The next 3 times this character takes damage, they will also heal for 1 HP afterwards. Very useful food card and can also sync up with artifacts like Mario Shosei Hunter. Now we're moving on to balance changes, and let me tell you, we got some spicy ones. Starting us off with character changes, now it looks pretty crazy, but it's actually not that much. We have Abyss Lector and shield status changes. The Abyss Lector talent, Embers Rekindled, will immediately grant them 2 shield points instead of 3. When the shield is destroyed, they will deal 1 piercing damage to all opposing characters. Useful for the Abyss Lector and also provides them with immediate value. Additionally, Abyss Lector, Candace, and Beidou all had their shield generations changed to interact with the Emperor of Fire and Iron's passive. This does not change how any of their skills actually work, it simply allows it so that the crab can absorb their shields. Moving on to action card changes, we have something very important that I'm sure many of you may rejoice in. We have Yayoi Nanatsuki. 2 of your characters on field are already equipped with an artifact, then you can now discount it for 1 less mental die. Seed Dispensary has become an entirely different card. The effect adjustment, when you play no longer equipment, only support cards with an original cost of 2 elemental dice, then you will now spend 1 less elemental dice. This change completely eliminates the 1-cost artifact tech from Seed Box. However, Seed Box will now also be able to support a wider range of support cards. Now, the moment you all been waiting for, Jeht Changes. The dice cost has been changed from 2 to 1. However, the effect adjustment is significant. If this card has recorded at least 6 stacks of sophistication points, discard this card and attach Sand and Dreams to your active character. The Sand and Dreams status, when you play a talent card or character uses a skill, spend 3 less elemental dice. A significant change from the original payoff of having up to possibly 8 Omni dice generated. Instead, it will only discount maybe a skill or talent card once. Lastly, an appendix section to our understanding the terminology of the TCG. Since there were many cards such as the White Glove and Fisherman, Aroumaru, as well as Undersea Treasure, all deal with the fact of shuffling cards into your deck. And the devs wanted to clarify that the effect of the event card Nature and Wisdom will not result in the deck actually being shuffled. All draw a random card of certain type from your deck effects will also not result in the deck being shuffled, but instead will result in one random card of the corresponding type being drawn and added to your hand. What the devs are trying to say is that by using any cards that use draw or using Nature and Wisdom, you can't force the order of your cards to change. Overall, I for one am very happy to be free of the Jeht meta due to how over-centralized she was. I also like the design of the characters this time around significantly since they bring a lot to the table and have diverse playstyles. Additionally, the action cards play with a new mechanic of adding cards into your deck at random, and created the unthinkable and omni-woven. Overall, a very good patch to enter into with the Jeht meta being out of the window. We should see many more archetypes like Stall and mid-range get a chance to shine once more, while also providing tools to combo and aggro decks. But that's all from me. Be sure to check out GITCG at discord.gg/GITCG for all things Genshin TCG and hang out with fellow duelists and enter our tournaments. Be sure to leave a like and subscribe here, it helps me out so much, and especially with the launch of this new channel. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the kitchen for the next week's cook.